Bluetooth mode.
Oh, who's happy to see you today? It's me, the Grinch, and today we've stolen a young child's present. Modern Warfare 3. Shh, don't tell anybody. But we're taking presents from kids all winter long. Even after they've opened them, we're gonna steal your shit. Yeah. But right now, let's open up this game and get into some awesome, shall we? So, I'm your host with the absolute most. Fishing. Buddy, there's nothing. You gotta watch where you step. Yeah. Yes, cats go meow a lot. So we're gonna fill up a satchel. We should fill up two, but we're just gonna fill up one. I wanna get this going like straight right now. So we got that. Let's fill the satchel up. Bunches of goodies here. Alright. So how's everybody doing? Good morning. Welcome to the show. Got a few new games to play today. I'm gonna try. I think I've tried this before, but if I haven't, I'm gonna try it now. CSR 2 Racing. I'm not sure what it stands for, but we're gonna find out right now. Alright. So once you get this going, like that, pop and drop. Come on. No, oh man, that's gonna get me a D-force. So we're gonna accept that. Any dude's been married for a really long time, y'all know about D-force. Y'all know. If you have any questions in the chat, or you just want to ask me how, what's up, what am I up to today, or I'll ask you what you're up to, but first just start the conversation and then I'll start chatting with you.
I don't know who's in the chat, so I can't start a conversation unless I know who's there, right? And I am conversating today, so it's a big up for people that want to have a conversation. You got the smartest dude on YouTube by far in the world at your disposal if you are not complete imbeciles in the chat, right? So as long as you can speak and write, we can actually get a conversation going, you know? But if you're hate-filled and you just want to talk smack, but you don't want to show your face, but you want to talk smack, you're a pussy. You're a troll pussy. And there's so many small-minded people on here. You gotta watch. Don't make friends with too many people on here if you don't really trust them, right? Best way to make friends with someone is, let them initiate friendship. Don't fall for it right away, because I'm telling you, there's so many people out there that are just grimy, just dirty. And since they can't, narc you out because weed's legal now they'll just try and, they're just looking to make trouble. All of these ex-DEA online weed narcs on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, you should see what they're up to now. They're all like fleeing. They're all trying to find somewhere where they can find somebody that's trafficking some sort of illegal substance. Start with your own backyard, man. DEA, FBI have been trafficking stuff for so many years, it's hilarious. Cops use informants. Cops give informants drugs to use. I mean, the real bad guy is the people who keep pumping the drugs on the streets, right? Think about who that is. Because it ain't the crackheads, I'll tell you that. It's the people that need a job. It's the people that make $175,000 a year for putting you in jail. Those guys get that much money to keep inflating the streets with trouble. So, you do the math. Do you want to stay employed, or do you want to lose your job? So you're going to make sure gangsters are pretty happy, pretty comfortable in your city, and you're going to start letting the crime waves begin, right? And then they just find the person at the top, and they say, hey, do you want to die, or do you want to join with us and do black ops operations forever under CIA guys, right? And this is what happens worldwide. CIA makes friends with warlords in countries where they decapitate women for going to school, right? Like they just got caught here in Canada. CSIS just got caught last year doing some weird stuff, and it's pretty bad. It's pretty damning what got caught. But nobody really truly cares about that stuff, eh? So what happens is, at the end of the day, the people who are in power that could make changes don't, because they have such a gross, creepy crime record themselves that if they do say anything, or if they do anything, they just, the media opens the curtain on them next, right? Everybody in this world is a slave unless you're a royal and you collect the taxes. If you collect taxes, then you are a slave driver, right? So this is the term slave driver comes from. It's the tax collector, the tax man. So the tax man never lifts a finger, but collects 33% from every single person in the village. The tax man never lifts a finger, but he takes a third of everything you've made this year. But wait, didn't you just pay taxes on your groceries, on everything else? So why are they taxing you also at the end of the year, right? They tax you on a car, they tax you on your food, they tax you on your housing, they tax you on everything. Every single, your clothing, everything. But most people who are older don't want to have these conversations because they're weak and powerless. They can't inflict change. Well, and they're uneducated, right? The biggest problem that we have with the older generation is they think they're wise. But while the world turned, their feet stood still. So those old, supposedly so wise people, the world changed overnight and made sure that the old people have no clue how to live today. No clue. You should see how many old people have to get their children to help them with banking and stuff like that. Do you know what that means? What if their children move away? Those old people get screwed over by those systems that they don't understand. And they're like, well, what do I do? And it's like, well, you can put your money here if you wanted. And you're like, okay, well, I guess I'll put it there. I kind of want it to go somewhere. And you're like, yeah, well, you didn't read the fine print. At the end of the year, we're going to take 50% of that money that you put there this year on your own recognizance. It's taxable now. That money is now taxable. You should have put it in a tax-free savings account, right? And then all this stuff, right? But it's worse than you think, though, because you get people that are old talking about you, well, you completely have wiped for them. They've changed their diapers most of their existence since you've known them. And then, for whatever reason, you know, old people, they're old, they're grimy, right? They don't really have a life, so they sit there and just nitpick yours, right? They nitpick your life. Old people, check it out, go look around you. One day they'll have a grudge with you, the next day they'll have a grudge with the person they were just telling yesterday about the grudge. They just never shut up. Old people are never happy. Old people are super grouchy, and old people have the least lives. They don't lead a very healthy life, right? Old people wake up. They never exercise. Old people never eat right. It's pretty damning when you look around you at all the old people that are unhealthy, right? Drinking alcohol at 70 is disgusting. Like, what in the world are you going to do when you're 80? You're going to start doing heroin? Like, what's the point of drinking alcohol at 70 plus years old? Just gross me right out, though. You should be trying to, like, put stuff in your body that isn't poison, right? Everyone's so quick to tell you about, oh, you should do this, you should do that, while they drink a beer, you know, while they drink a hard liquor. They're telling you how to live. Old people are some of the dumbest, you know. You want to find somebody who's powerful? Look for somebody who's about 30, 40 years old in any era, moving forward or backwards. And you'll see those were the most powerful people. Those were the game changers. Those were the creators, the money makers. You'll never see a 75-year-old man or woman come up with a new idea that makes them $1 million. Never. You will never see an old person creating. You will only see an old person copying and mimicking what other old people are doing. Period. So basically, you don't want to get old, everybody. You get too greasy, too grimy. You no longer have respect for, well, I don't know, some people never really had respect for their children due to the fact they started touching their kids when they were 35 or 40, you know? Some people touch their kids their whole life, right? But old people, in general, are greasy because of the fact that they don't really have anybody above them as a role model. Old people think they are in charge, right? So this is where all the problems stem from, is that the old person doesn't have any ramifications. There is no repercussions for that old person's actions. This is why old people rape young people, because they don't feel like, they're like, well, you have to respect your elders, and if I tell you to do something, you better do it. That type of mentality, I'll never, ever, if you don't ask nicely, I'll tell you right off. If you say, hey, oh, go do this for me, I'll tell you where to go in a heartbeat. Nobody uses my wife, nobody uses my family members, and especially if someone talks down to my family members, I'll cave you right in. I'll cave you in. I'll turn you into that spineless weasel you really are. So watch your mouth, eh? You know, these people that think they're big shots and they live in these shitty little dumpy houses, you know, you're not a big shot. You also, not only that, you can't even afford to go on vacation right now. You gotta borrow money from, you know, your line of credit to go on vacation. Old people really don't have a lot going for them. And I love my mom. My mom's not old to me, by the way. My mom still scuba dives. Most 35, 40-year-old, even 20-year-olds don't know how to scuba dive, nor could they. They're too weak, right? My mom scuba dives. She goes cave diving, you know? Come on. That's my genetic line. yeah, I have interactions with old people, and it makes me wonder how pathetic their minds are, right? Like, what do you think about all day? And I gotta say, I don't think old people even have their own thoughts, right? They just turn on a TV, and as soon as the TV says, oh yeah, Trump did this, Trump did that, you got an old person reiterating what the oldest news station that's been the most corrupt news station on the planet since the dawn of time is saying. So literally, you're a parakeet for the devil. You're a parakeet for the devil, right? And it doesn't. It gets worse as you really start to think about it. People who watch the evening news and don't laugh every second the news is on, you actually are a simpleton. So you've now fallen for the devil's lies. Evening lies, like daily evening lies on the news, right? That enslave the populace, right? Does anybody understand why I say we are slaves? Because did you know that we had free energy? So we come from the last reset. We had free energy. And I know there's a lot of people out there, you're very old and you're very dumb. So let me explain it for you. Do you remember those trolley car systems? Do you remember the trolley cars in California in the 1900s? 1900, they had electric trolley cars that went up and down the streets of California. There was some other states, Mass, Washington. There were some places where trolley cars existed that we can for sure reference in books. There are some electrical museums around the world that still feature the trolley cars of 1904, 1906. Did you know, for instance, that I drive a hybrid car right now, an electric vehicle? Did you know that over 125 years ago, the electric car was very prominent around North America and many other places in the world? India, China, there were electric vehicles over 125 years ago. So all you imbeciles out there that were saying there's no such thing as free energy, you're pathetic. You're literally pathetic. You talk about history all knowing. Oh, you know so much about history? How come you don't know about the electric age? Go to the museum in Winnipeg and look up the electrical museum here in Winnipeg and do some research on your own, goobers, and see how we've been enslaved by this new governing body. They call it the ruling. This term is not used by many people without an education. They call it what's referred to as the ruling class. And the ruling class is a group of people who won the war. Now those people own corporations, and those corporations run you. They run you in circles every single day. So the ruling class decides which currency to use around the world. So right now we're using the American currency. We used to use the Dutch currency. We used to use French. There's been many currencies that have existed. They call it it's referred to as the ruling class, which is very, very rarely used in modern day. You will rarely hear anybody talk about these people because you're not supposed to. Most people aren't even supposed to know that there's a group of people way far above any president in the world, way far above. And they own corporations. They own the biggest corporations in the world, right? And these families that own these corporations that rule the world, and they're referred to as the ruling class, every decade they change all of their names. Did you know this? Most people are fools. Did you know that the ruling class changes their last name, their middle name, and their first name every decade? Do you want to know why? So you can't keep track of or even find out which family it owns Coca-Cola, which family owns all the bread makers, and they buy all the grains. They own the grain boards of the world. But you old people, you never talk about this. Do you want to know why? Because you sit there and watch CNN, ABC News, whatever, Detroit Public Access Television. You watch the most garbage channels, the most garbage media you could possibly come up with that has never taught you a damn thing. Never. You should be embarrassed that I've taught you more in this 20-minute show than you've learned on any news station that you've watched religiously for the last 20 years. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing to know that there's people out there that actually think they're smart and they watch the evening news and they take it in and they're like, oh, this is happening? Oh, this is... No, they're telling you that this could happen if you fall for their lies again, right? They want you to think that this is happening, but really it only happens if you fall for their lies, right? So the biggest mistake that good people ever made was not realizing the devil exists in a man of faith, right? What some people refer to as a man of faith, a man of the cloth. Well, those people touch children. Those people touch children and then never really face a harsh sentence. Here in Canada, some priests have been charged, and only after like 16 years of people coming forward, finally, after all this time, these priests are finally not being allowed to be priests anymore, and they're facing jail time. But it took 16 years for the judicial system in Canada to label these pedophiles as such. Now you have to ask yourself, do you want to live in a community full of pedophiles, old men who get away with touching children? Or do you want to live in a community full of children that are raised and not touched? You have to ask yourself that, because the hierarchy system that they've created, whether it be a man in cloth, whether it be a greasy ass politician that smells like shit, these people are the scum of the earth, and you can never forget this. You can never forget this. They lie to you, and they know the real truth. They are lying, and they know the real truth. This is the devil's way. Don't forget that. You must never, ever succumb to the devil's plans, the devil's game, right? And old people, they fulfill the devil's wishes daily. Like, it's bad. So, just so we're clear, everybody, make sure you love everyone. Don't talk down about anybody, because this is the number one thing old people are so good at, is deflecting their patheticness, right? Most old people are so dumb that all they have, they're like a high school bully, right? They're like a high school bully on welfare, you know? When you talk to an old person, do they make you feel good, or do they piss you off and make you feel like you just got drained, right? Succubus style, right? Well, I'll tell you one thing. Most old people I know, draining. Very, very draining. Even from the get-go of a conversation, I'm like, oh, good God. What? Like, I look at the clock, like, when can I get out of here? Because, I don't know. Once you've been around old people as long as I have, you know the good ones from the bad ones. A good old person continuously smiles and is welcoming. A greasy old person will just sit there like a lump, just a mess. Just head kind of hunched over, shoulders hunched over, hunched down, and just smelling your greasy feet all day. Like, get out of here. I used to have an uncle. He wasn't like a blood uncle, by the way. He was through marriage. And this guy was so gross. This guy was so dirty, you know? And he always picked on me, he picked on anybody. He picked on my mama. He would pick on like my family members that I loved, you know. And he was mean. He was like mean. Like when I mean pick on, I don't mean like, hey, having a little fun. Hey, gaining weight. Hey, you're a little fat. No, this guy was mean, and he was. He's just a greasy dude, man. And nobody. You want to hear the funniest thing? Nobody in my family liked him while he was alive. And now that he's dead, everybody goes and visits my aunt now. But nobody would go over there before. Like, he was just such a loser. I stopped going there. They were like, hey, come over for Christmas. I'm like, "Pfft, there? Not a chance. And they're like, you have to. I'm like, yeah, come try and make me, bro. Let that greasy old dude come over here and let's see what I do to him. I'll fold him like a fucking pretzel, bro. I'm like, I'm spending Christmas? Not with these greasy balls, old goobers, eh? Man, I had, there was a few times I almost knocked him out, man. I was like 16 and he was like, he's just a weirdo. Year was 1996 and I was gonna thump him. I was gonna thump him. He thought he was such a big shot. I stood up to him. Man, did he cower. I was gonna flip the table right over on top of him, but he was 60 and he still worked for Hydro. He thought he was a big baller because he had a gold watch from Hydro when he retired or whatever. He just quit working for Hydro. I think he retired early. He was an alcoholic, so he was a scrawny weasel. He was a super scrawny weasel with a huge mouth. Like, the guy thought he was super hot and everything, and he was like, he didn't have any good traits. He had no teeth, no hair. He was a fucking complete loser. His eyes were like yellow. He had so much liquor problems that his eyes were literally clouded over in pure yellow. Like, it was gross. And yeah, this was my uncle. You know, somebody who abused liquor so hard, thought he was a boss, used to touch my friends, my waitress friends at this bar. These chicks, I was dating a girl, and she's like, yeah, your uncle's a pervert. I'm like, he's actually not my uncle, but oh my god, if I told my mom, I bet you my aunt would leave him. And yeah, this guy was such a pervert, man. He thought he was a good looking, like, he thought he was like 20 when he was 60. It's just gross. Old men that think they're fucking all that are like really weird, because how do you not realize you're 60 years old? Like, you almost put on a diaper before you go to bed. Like, you piss yourself when you wake up in the morning. You think a hot chick wants to wake up to a pissy old dude? Get out of here. It's time to start respecting those who are hot and who are really smart and who are the bosses of this city. And I'm talking about me. But I don't get enough respect, so as Rodney Dangerfield said, fuck off. But yeah, man. So, like, it just pisses me off to think about how old people they fucked us, right? Old people have made this world impossible for young people to live in. Think about that. Think about it.
Go.
What was Rodney Dangerfield's famous line? I don't get no respect. Yep. I'm the king of YouTube. I'm gonna need a lot more jewels, a lot more crowns, a lot more thrones. I need a lot more respect. As the king of YouTube, I demand it. Hey? $26,000 views last night. I don't know how much you guys are pulling in. It's just one channel. I had other channels with 12,000 last night, 10,000, and so on and so forth. 3 channels monetized so far. How much money do you make? Hey? I'm pulling $1,000 a week right now, so I hope you can say you're doing half as good as I am. But $1,000, that's American a week. I should say 1,350 Canadian or 1,000 US. So. And the analytics are going up. It's like $12 every hour. It goes up more than yesterday. Figure that out, and you'll see. It'll be 6K next month. Let's go. All the rest of my uncles are cool. I only had one greasy uncle on my mom's side. On my dad's side, I don't even call my dad. But if you want to go there, I would thump anybody on my dad's side that ever came around me. Unless they were like, I had an aunt who was super cool on that side, but she was horribly beaten and she ran. She had to leave my uncle. It was so bad. farted in the dining room. Just wanted to let you know, in case you missed it. And if you did miss it, you should be able to put on some Bose noise cancelling headset and hear that fart in 3D surround sound. If you have some, what are they called, nuanced speakers, to do that again if you wanted. You could hear it in 3D, you could hear them farts. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying. Look at this. How awesome I am. Just went and squeezed out a bit more. Why wouldn't I? It was super juicy. That's the way we roll, baby. Oh, I'm so thankful I don't have to steal my ganja. You know, so many losers out there stealing from other people. They're too stupid to grow their own. And they're too stupid to make enough money to support their own habits, you know? Thieves will always, karma will get thieves worse than anybody, right? Because we're already slaves. And most thieves, absolutely. If a thief is smart enough, which most thieves aren't, if thieves were smart, they would be working men, not thieves, right? But thieves are the ones who steal from you in the night while you sleep, and you wake up in the morning and you got to start slaving for the 33% of the tax man. So really, you don't make anything, and you probably go in debt because of thieves. So remember that. And stay away from crypto. That stuff's for pussies. Anyone with crypto has never shoveled a load of rocks, and you're a puss. Remember that. Peace. Crypto is for pussies. Please keep that in mind.